Life, part 1 of my accidental Jake Gyllenhaal marathon. Life stars Jake Gyllenhaal, Rebecca Ferguson, and Ryan Reynolds. They play a group of astronauts that are on the, I believe it's the International Space Station. They come across a new life form that starts microscopic and starts to get bigger, and then they decide to give it an electric shock, and that pisses it off. One by one, people get killed. I did like this movie for the first act, but then it just kind of falls off the rails and becomes pretty formulaic. The movie doesn't harp on the claustrophobia of what being on a space station of this sort would be like. I thought it'd be fun if they kind of played with tight spaces and whatnot, but that doesn't really happen. And while there are some interesting visuals, the twist at the end is predictable as hell and just kind of ruined the film for me. I just remember yelling lame after it was over. Nocturnal Animals, accidental Jake Gyllenhaal movie number 2. I did not know I rented 2 of his movies at once. This film is hard to explain. Directed by Tom Ford. Yes, that Tom Ford, the designer Tom Ford. There's 2 different ways you can go about talking about the plot of this movie. I'm going to go from the Amy Adams angle. Amy Adams plays a divorced wife who gets in the mail a manuscript from her ex-husband, and she always thought that he was kind of a weak writer, but he writes this manuscript and sends it to her to proof, and it's strong. It's a very, very compelling narrative, and we see her mental images of what he has written as kind of a side story. We also see flashbacks of their relationship. Her husband is played by Jake Gyllenhaal, and the husband in the book within the movie is also played by Jake Gyllenhaal. 2 very distinct, very well-rendered performances from Jake. And Amy Adams is compelling in this movie. This is a movie I had to sit down and think about for a long time after it was over to kind of piece together what had happened throughout the narrative. It's one of those films where you have to think about the ending to make it make sort of sense, and when you do, it's kind of genius. Here's Finch the cat, everybody, to help me review movies. Just like Nocturnal Animals, I also have a side plot. This is my nocturnal animal. I'm just gonna hang out up here. Is that what's gonna happen? You're gonna help me review the rest of this movie? And I knocked the windscreen off the microphone. Well, this review has fallen off the rails. Where were we? So yeah, Adams and Gyllenhaal have this complicated relationship. She never thought he was strong enough of a person. He writes a book to kind of prove to her that he has always been a strong person. And they play mental games with each other through this novel that he has written. And it's genius. I really like this movie. I need to see it again now, knowing what I know. I think it'll play different the second time through, but I really did enjoy this film. How about you, Finch? Did you enjoy it? He's getting a drink of water. Knights of Badassdom. This movie has a pretty turbulent history. Had a hard time finding buyer. Barely came out. Made absolutely no money at the box office. Was not put into DVD release, if I can recall, until substantially later. Last episode I talked about a documentary about the movie Galaxy Quest, and Galaxy Quest is a movie that really loves the fandom that they were talking about. And I didn't feel while watching this movie that it loved LARPers at all. This movie hates its subject matter and it wants to just make fun of it to the point that its main character doesn't want to be a LARPer anymore, thinks it's lame, and throughout the film, everyone learns to be more like him, while he was also sucked back into the lifestyle. They kind of meet in the middle, I guess. I don't feel like the script was strong, and I feel like whatever producers in the studio were involved tinkered a lot. Feels like they wanted to make a broad comedy out of this, where maybe something more niche would have worked better. I didn't hate my time with it, but I did want it to shoot higher.